When Nina first shared something online, it wasn't about attention, it was about joy. She posted a photo of a baby parrot, small, fragile, something she cared deeply about. She thought people might smile, instead, the comments came fast. They told her she was irresponsible, that the bird looked sick, that she didn't know how to take care of it. She tried to explain, calmly, kindly. She chose her words carefully, believing that if she stayed polite, people would listen. But as her TikTok account grew, the comments stopped being about the parrot. They became about her. Fat, ugly, stupid. It didn't matter what she posted anymore. A video of her singing, a clip of her talking. Even just being present online seemed to invite judgment. And she noticed something else. If she sang, her voice cracked, she was embarrassing. If she talked with confidence, she was trying too hard. If she laughed too loudly, she was annoying. But then both boys posted similar videos. They were cool, confident, funny. Nina learned that early that online spaces don't treat everyone the same, and girls often pay a higher price for just showing up. At first, the comments hurt, then slowly they became noise. She reached a breaking point and did something drastic. She deleted her TikTok, her Instagram too. She erased the version of herself that had tried to please everyone. And then she started again. This time, Nina didn't post to prove anything. She posted to connect. She recorded more videos. She spoke more freely. She focused on one simple goal: to make people laugh, to cheer them up, to become someone she herself would want to watch. And something unexpected happened. People stayed. The ones who understood her, really understood her, found her. The rest faded into the background. Her audience grew, not because she changed who she was, but because she stopped apologizing for it.
Welcome to Future Chronicles, a European podcast created within a 2-year Erasmus Plus project where young women and allies expose gender disinformation, unpack how it spreads, and share how we can resist it. From the margins to the center, reclaiming our narratives, rebuilding trust, and strengthening democracy.
We are journalists for human rights based in North Macedonia. We work at the intersection of media democracy, gender equality, and human rights. Our mission is not only to defend rights on paper, but to practice them in everyday life through advocacy, education, and action. We work to strengthen ethical and democratic media, support human rights reforms, and empower young people, marginalized community, and those whose voices are too often excluded. Today, that mission brings us to a growing threat to democracy and equality: gender disinformation, false and misleading narratives that target women and girls because of how they look, what they say, or simply because they speak up are not just online harassment. They are a tool to use to silence voices, discourage participation, and roll back hard-won rights. In this episode, we explore how gender disinformation works, who it harms, and why countering it is essential for human rights, media freedom, and inclusive democracy. Most importantly, we focus on how young people and community can recognize it, challenge it, and reclaim their space online and offline. With us are Antonia Kalkova, Nadirenka Chindarova, Tino Nakov, media expert Filip Spiroski, and a brave young girl who will share her experience with gender disinformation online.
What was it that you posted or shared that led to negative reactions? What happened? What kind of comments did you get? Did you think that if a boy posted something similar, he would be treated differently?
When I first posted a picture of my baby parrot, I started getting negative comments that I was keeping a sick animal and I didn't know how to take good care of it. Then I became more famous on TikTok. I started getting horrible comments about my look: fat, ugly, stupid. I didn't respond negatively. I tried to explain it to everyone with nice words, but I don't know how successful I was. Girls are definitely more victims of bullying than boys. If I post a video of myself singing or talking about something, I might look stupid, but if a boy posted, he is cool.
How did you feel when you read those comments? Did you think about deleting the post or staying silent? Did this change the way you use social media?
They hit me at first, but then I started to get used to it. At one point, I deleted my old TikTok and Instagram posts and started over. I started recording more and more TikTok videos and getting more fans. My goal is to make those who watch me laugh and cheer them up. Whoever understood me. Now they constantly take pictures with me when I go out for a coffee, for a walk, or to a concert. Um, at one concert of most popular rappers, fans took pictures with me for 3 hours. I couldn't watch the concert, but I'm glad it's like that.
How did you deal with all of that? Who supported you, and how did you manage to turn around your story? Are there any other young people who look to you for advice and support for similar experiences?
My family and a few friends supported me. I changed my story by recording videos with positive content, and I record what is interesting to watch. I started recording my first ads and earning money.
Just like the story you heard, there are several other stories of many girls throughout North Macedonia that want to share their experiences, especially on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and other social media platforms. One of my friends, who suffers from diagnosed anorexia and bulimia, started filming TikToks about 5 years ago. When she started, she had more weight than she has now. When she started losing weight, people noticed. They started making accusations that she was using different substances, that she was doing it for attention, that she wanted just to idolize something that is unhealthy, to make an image that other girls will use for inspiration and destroy themselves with it. Then, when she actually spoke up about what she was suffering with, she started making more educational videos, talking about how she's trying to get back her weight that she lost, how she's trying to make a better future for herself and inspire other young girls throughout Macedonia.
Yes, girls are targeted of their looks very often, but also because of ethnical background. Roma women are targeted because of their origin, tradition, and level of education. They are most often attacked because of the color of their skin. Also, in hospital, they do not receive equal treatment with excuse because excuse being made about their lack of hygiene without taking into account that some of them live in inhuman conditions. In reality, not all of them live that way. We have many examples of Roma women who are educated and hold leadership or management positions and so on. Also, also we have women politicians who are fighting for an inclusive society for everyone. They want to create peace and a society where every woman and girl where every woman and girl have equal right to a voice and their own opinion.
Yes, a lot of the women and especially young women are being targeted, and there are a lot of stereotypes about them. For example, in our school, there are different type of people that look different or act different, and they are being judged for that, while they're just trying to express themselves. And there is a lot of misinformation about them, like that they are using some stuff or that they're bad people or bad influence.
So, talking with you guys, I realized that all of the stories have one thing in common, and of course, you can add on to this as women in society and who use social media. Is it the problem that women are basically just objectified for what they're doing, and it doesn't matter what they say, what purpose they serve? It's just like how they look, how they present themselves, and that's it basically. So people don't really care what they have to say or what their statements are that they're putting out on social media, just how they look and how they present themselves.
I have noticed that a lot of the girls are being just judged based on their looks. Like you have to look a certain type of way for people not to judge you and discriminate you. The standards are really high. For example, if you have tattoos or piercing or look different in any type of way, they will discriminate that you look trashy or that tattoos are manly, and just that it's not for girls and it's not elegant.
Do you, Nadirenka, think that this is also a common thing in like all the marginalized groups across our country, let's say North Macedonia, that each group has those types of problems and discriminations?
Yes, similar challenges exist in other communities as well. For example, if women have tattoos, they are often targeted as being inappropriate. Also, if they have blonde hair, it's seen as not suitable for their skin color, and so on.
It is clear that all of us have different questions that we want to know, and here to help us clear some of the things up is Filip Spiroski, professional in media, youth, and online safety.
What are the most common tactics you recognize in the comments and reactions we heard about?
I'm sure that there is some personal attacks. So in this case, personal attacks is first shifting from content critic to personal attack, if I may say. Why? Because firstly, they start with common comments, then after the story tells that there is some personal, how to say, it's some personal perception of the people who text or who post this story. So also the jokes framed as a harmless humor, it's also very dangerous, because if you say something, let's say funny, but in personal matter it's harmful, it's bad. So there is also peeling on behavior once negatively starts, and after all participants or all people who see this, they spread this, so it's also bad. Those tactics are very bad, but very common in the comments. They start like jokes or something which you don't think, and then after it's create like harmful and painful or more.
Why do attacks often shift from criticizing content like a video or a photo to attacking appearance, behavior, or intelligence?
very interesting question, because attacking the person is more effective than debating ideas. It's much easier if you criticize something. It's much easier to say something worse than if you speak about the, let's say, intellectual or something like this. Reinforce the idea that girls must be presentable before being heard. This refers offline gender norms being amplified online. So that means after criticism is some stop for thinking and adequate answering. It's much better approach.
Okay, then we heard about fake support and comments that sound helpful but are actually harmful. How does this tactic work?
Very usual concept of we like to help, but sounds some like laughing, which is also not quite good. If you have good intentions, but unfortunately if it's not quite framed or quite good scribed, or if there is some association with some humor or some funny thing, means can be also dangerous, or in the other comments will be much more harmful, which is also tricky and not quite good. So that's why maybe the best answer comes from the older or from people with much experience than other.
Yes, well, we're on the topic of fake support. I'd like to ask a question about fake accounts and how they are involved in all of this and all the attacks that are put on such young girls online on social media. And why is it that anonymous or fake accounts are so often involved in these attacks?
The practice says that behind fake account it's some also young or other people who are not quite how to say relevant for communication and like to provoke something different, which means you don't know if it's fake or not. You start to converse with the conversation, and that's why it's important to, before to start with the social media, to be well educated, to know how to react about this. So fake accounts are very often, usually even normal people or normal communicators have his own fake accounts. But this means that they like provoke, usually between genders or something other in something other. Have you ever seen a video online that felt something that it's not real? So you are not sure about the content about the video. Now, nowadays, with the artificial intelligence and other things, it's very easy to make those fake news. About the fake news, there is a lot of things to do to speak about this, and it's, for example, visual manipulation or deepfake support, using images or video to reinforce false narratives, includes artificial intelligence, images or cropped photos or fake screenshots or deepfake videos or audio, etc. So visuals are trusted more than text, making lies harder to challenge. So it's much easier if there is some picture or video, put it in and make some noise than a narrative or other things. So this is the world young people are growing up in today. So in nowadays, young people are very common with the artificial intelligence and other application for this, and they manipulate it. But also in not only in the fake account, they use the normal account for some other purposes. Among the youngest is very common, but also among the other structure in the social media too. Thank you for this question.
Well, the stories and a lot of situations show that girls are being judged differently than boys for very similar content. Why does this double standard exist online?
About the double standard, not only in the communication, then in the media too, there is few things that you need to know. So it's very common, for example, false balance. You see very often in the media how they put some people in the interview, they are not in the same way, on the similar level, and they use it for some political purposes. It's similar, it's those fake balances in those communication too. So because visibility means different things, boys are seen as confident or funny, girls are seen as seeking attention. So also there is inclusion of the prejudice too, and inclusion of the whole society and habits and how they do in his own life, not only in the social life. And that's why this is some kind of consequences when you communicate with on social media, because lots of people, lots of habits, lots of prejudice are in. That's why there is double standard, or there is not quite clear how.
Okay, then what gender stereotypes are being reinforced when girls are told that they are too loud, trying too hard, or embarrassing themselves?
This life is reinforced the idea that the girls should be quiet, modest, self-control, non-confrontational, which is not quite true. Nowadays, girls and boys, they have very similar attitude, and they are very similar in behaviors. So that's why those stereotypes about the quiet girl and the loud boy doesn't exist, especially in the social media. There is only in the areas which is a little bit rural, which is not in all places the same, but on the social media doesn't exist rural or not, or other things. In social media, those approach is not relevant. You can see with the posts and with the lyrics what they children say, not where came from. So even there is a methodology to discover from where they are, but there is not the point. The point is that those prejudice about the girls and boys are in social media is quite the same.
Then how do these narratives discourage these girls and young women for speaking publicly or creating content?
So it's interesting that after if they are harmful, or if in some posts are taken in negative way, it's very hard to get in again. So from time to time there is some examples that the people stop with communicating on social media in a month, 2, or even more, but not forever. It's not possible. The people are included in people's life. Social media are included completely, especially with the youngest. So that's why the young people are I can say that they are very easy recoverable about those, if I may say, war on social media.
I think that after this, even we can understand the impact that all of these comments have on the young girls. But what can repeated impact, like how can a repeated online attack like this have an effect on a young person's confidence and mental well-being?
So about the repetition and normalization, I presume. Repeating the same false claim until it feels true. You know, every repetition make to think that it is true. Not only in the communication, then in the other things, that when the people speak repetitively, after 100 times, it comes true. So this is the dimension of the media. This is quite dangerous who came from the media, not only in the social media among the youngest and his net, then in the politics, in all part of human living in society. Because repetition, even if it's fake, many people think there is true, which is quite dangerous. So those repetitive repetitive process means something bad, but also they came in normalization too. If you know the methodology, how to include apps or knowledge about the fake news or the regular news. So it's much important, and we can again that the education about the fake news and those tendency, it's important.
And why is it that comments from strangers sometimes affect us more than criticism from people we know?
So we think that the comments of strangers can harm us much more because we don't know him, but also we can believe because this is something who don't know us, we don't know him, and we believe maybe in this. And we know that, to expect from the some close to answer in our way. That means sometimes comments of stranger is a little bit harder to take than the comments from the close. But also it's much harmful when some close person and the person who knows us tell something bad, and it's really harmful. So this is not quite different. This is very often in our psychology to believe in close people, but also be harmed much more from close people than from the people who we don't know him.
Yes, and do you think getting used to these types of negative comments is really a sign of resilience or a sign that harm has been normalized?
Again, like I say, so it's sometimes when the stranger tell us, it's different than when the people who is close to us too. So I will explain you on the one interesting thing or like example. For example, contexts show that new school materials introduce gender ideology without parental consent. Why parents see this? They follow parenting pages, they interact with school-related content. They previously clicked on child safety posts or things like this, and they know they are in this context. But message framed as protection, not discrimination. Fair is used to override fact-checking. So if we know what we expect about this comment, it's much easier. For example, if we sing, then the comment about this song will be good or bad, but mainly if from some close from us tell, then it's different than from some who don't know us. I'm not sure if I'm quite clear, but please,
Yes.
you can.
Yes, I want to follow up on this and ask, just because we cannot see clearly what's been normalized and what hasn't, especially around us and in our country, do you think that there is a different kind of gender disinformation appearing in our national online space, and are there specific patterns you see locally, like you mentioned, when people are singing? So are there like topics like music, appearance, activism, or social issues that are more of an issue when it comes to gender disinformation in our country than in others?
So we are targeting to European Union to be part of this, and in our how to say, in our community, in our country, it's very common if you sing, if you're a singer, to put something on the social media, and then at least 1/3 of the comments you can expect to be negative. Which means it's not very irrelevant for your how to say, for your career. But of course, if you're professional, means a lot. If you live on those, if you have some money for those singing, it means a lot. So that's why depends in which channel, in which level of this is published, in which level of this is put it in. So that's why it's a little bit tricky, and normal singing of some young boy or girl on internet means much how to say, much interesting, and can be funny or not. So in the EU country, platforms may be required to act quickly. In North Macedonia, the response may depend more on reporting or public pressure or individual institution. This shows the difference between proactive and reactive one. So our tendency, like country, is to be proactive, and also the tendency of the modern is to be proactive than reactive. So that's why it's much better to be in, or to stop, or to not think, or to not post other thing.
Well, as we're a country that's not part of the EU, how do you think that the EU policies such as the Digital Service Act help address online abuse, and where do they fall short, especially in our country?
Yes, this is important to know that our direction, our eyes are in EU. Unfortunately, still legislative is not quite it's not quite harmonized with European legislative, but also we have some local legislative which is not quite how to say, compatible with the European. That means here on Balkan, it's very common, for example, in the school, if there is some bullying or something like this, to not work on prevention. Then if it's some extreme, police it's included, and other institution, not like in European Union legislative, which means prevention. Firstly, and very important, to work on prevention. And of course, the prevention in school system is much important. In schools also there is a teams, or you can act intensively. It's important to act intensively on the problem in the school too. So of course the parents too.
Okay, then what are some practical ways that young people can protect themselves without silencing their own voices?
So I can ask the same question on you. What do you think about this? What do you think? What is your opinion about this?
Well, I think that to say that they can ignore what the comments are is practically impossible, because especially young people are so vulnerable to outside comments and what other people think. So I'd say that they could maybe like ask somebody that's older for help, talk at home about the situation. Maybe even if it comes to that point, the hate is so big and comes at such big volumes, should ask for even more special high level help.
Exactly. Those help firstly come from some close and some older, of course, some with much experience. But in many cases, many of the young people doesn't have those opportunity to act immediately with some older or well-educated. So that's why this is some kind of document abuse, and sick pair and adult support. It's important. Of course, it's much more important about this. So you know, otherwise the audience became your judge, and it's very very dangerous. So you can be very precautious on this.
So I want to ask you, if we don't have the support from our family, how we can
Yes, I understand.
find the solution of this problem?
That's why I say before that some of the users of the social media doesn't have support of the family. Of course, there is some institutional help. That's why those, for example, in educational process, those schools are involved. In some cases, even school doesn't help on the people on the street or marginalized on other people. So in those cases, legislative, it's much important. It's much important to be strong legislative than without legislative. This is some kind of...
and content of that, when is better to respond, and when is better to not to engage. Sorry.
It's much better to engage some people who have experience. Of course, if they are close to your group or your friends, it's much how to say, it's very helpful, but not across the social media. After those engagement, you can think how can answer on this. So don't engage if it's false harassment. This is important.
Yes, and why is public support sometimes even more powerful than private messages?
Yes, public support is part of those because all public see social media, and we are not even aware that every comment go online viral. They are used from you don't know who, so that's why this is important to be, the public opinion for one comment you can see only in your answers on your social media, which is also like communication with one direction, very open, touch everybody. In other direction, touch you and the comment around your account. So this is some kind of new way of communication, but it's important to know that the public opinion, you never know if it's complete. You have limited access to your friend, and the public is much broader.
Yes, in this story, the girl transformed her online presence into something positive and empowering. Why is this kind of response powerful, and how would you say that other young people who also film videos like this can turn their story around and make it an educational one, and not just that they're victims of this type of hate, and make it empowering for all the other young girls and other people who are putting themselves out there?
Very good question. Why? Because only the experience can make us much stronger in any things, in many things, and especially in the social media. Experienced people, even if I may say, people who have bad history in the social media, vulnerable and things like this, they are much more harder in the way of how they respond. It is interesting that there is some period of adaptation, which means the period when those people, like in your example on the start of our conversation, is that they are harassed, but after they made stronger message because they have correct support from the family, correct support from the even some of the institution who cut the bad things about and the comment about this, and there is some, how to say, you came from this much stronger. So that's why experience is one of the things that make you stronger, and you can start again with much more and much powerful thing. You have bad experience, which means never get again.
What would you say to a young person who is thinking about posting something but is afraid of being attacked?
Yes, of course, I will encouraging him. It's very important to make this step. Your voice matters before approval. You are not responsible for others' prejudice, of course. Visibility is not a mistake, it's right.
And how can storytelling like this help others recognize gender disinformation earlier?
Because the story makes patterns visible, replace shame with understanding, and turn individual plan into collective awareness. Media literacy starts with recognition. So people understand those storytellings because they see different things that usual can see or can hear. That's why are very important to be in the public space and with all of this explanation about the storytellings. So it's your job is very important, I must say.
Okay, then we talk about what happened and why it's harmful. Now we want to focus on something really important: what helps, actually. And when this happens to someone, what are the first health steps they can take?
To regulate emotion, I presume, is the first thing. Yeah. The emotional distress and disorder is very common, and it's important to be first those briefly to regulate this, and then it's important to save evidence, to know what is the part of this issue. So talk to someone who trusts. Isolation makes harm heavier. Connection reduce its power.
So, how can young people protect their mental well-being without withdrawing from online spaces and closing their personalities off?
So protection doesn't mean silence. Curate your space, mute, block, filter. Choose where and when you show up. You don't owe access to everyone. It's about control, not gilding. Control its power. It's important to control.
And a lot of people suffer from this. Are there any legal or psychological support services available for victims that are of online harassment?
Very good question. It's important to be included. Professional help is crucial for the vulnerable person who have those negative side of this, but depends of the percentage of those hurt. some of the things makes differences. So that's why professional knows what is the intensity, and it's important to open with, of course, with the parents or some older or some friends. The professionals understand those things, and in nowadays they know all the things about the social media. Also in the school level, those people who work in the school, like professional psychologists or pedagogists, they are important to be included also in the process of rehabilitation, if I may say.
Yes, and of course, if you think that people and creators can set their boundaries online, what do you think that they can do, and how can they set those boundaries online while staying authentic to themselves?
The boundaries about the attitude in the social media are unlimited, and if you put those boundaries lower, you can be very boring. And if you put higher, you can be, of course, extreme. So the boundaries depends on your education and the character, and the meaning of your personality. The boundaries are not. People think that there is some the boundaries are in the society, of course, but this is some kind of on the low level put it. So the society boundaries are other thing. Saying I won't engage with personal attack is healthy.
And when should someone respond and when not?
So respond if it helps you or clarifies truth. Don't respond if it falls harm. Silence can be a strategy, not a loss. This is the smallest saying, the small sentence saying.
And what coping strategies would actually help in the long term, and which ones might seem helpful but can cause harm?
They should report harmful content, leave supportive comments, challenge idea, not attack people, don't add fuel, and balance.
What does effective reporting look like, and why does it often feel ineffective?
Reporting often feels discouraging because the responses are slow or automated. Harm isn't always recognized as serious. Effective reporting means clear categorization, multiple reports, follow-up through civil society channels.
Are there any national organizations, helplines, or even institutions that young people can turn to when online abuse becomes overwhelming, even with reporting?
So the rule of civil society is complex. So this is one of what they do, civil society, if I may say.
Yes.
So they translate complex issue of accessible language. They support victims and advocate for policy changes. Projects like this, like Future Chronicles, help young people recognize pattern, not blame themselves. So the CSO has important role in this, if I may say, education on this issue.
Okay, then why is generated disinformation not just a social issue, but a policy issue?
Yes, there is a few things like limits participation, reinforce inequality, affect democratic engagement. That makes it a rights and governance issue, not just a personal one.
What gaps currently exist in national laws or regulations regarding online harassment and disinformation?
So current gaps often include weak recognition of online gendered harm, limited enforcement, and lack of youth-specific protection. Law hasn't caught up with digital reality, unfortunately.
What policy changes would most effectively protect girls and young women online?
So, key priorities is, of course, clear definition of online harassment, faster response mechanisms, education embedded in policy, and protection and prevention must go together. Those are some of the most important things.
Talk about online sexual abuse. Many people still think that's just the internet, but the law in North Macedonia now says something different. Online sexual abuse is real harm, and it is increasingly recognized by law. So, what does the law actually cover?
So we have, luckily, in nowadays, some changes about the law in North Macedonia. So in early February 2026, North Macedonia introduced a new specific criminal offense in the criminal code for the abuse of someone's intimate recording photograph, audio, or explicit sexual content. That means Article 152 from the criminal code. It includes things like sharing of threatenings to share intimate photos or videos without consent, sending sexual messages or comments that make someone feel unsafe or humiliated, repeated online contact that cause fear of distress. And here is something important. Even if someone once agreed to send a photo, sharing it later without permission can still be a crime, which is completely new and very good. One of the biggest changes in that North Macedonia has introduced a new criminal offense for abusing intimate images. This means using private photos or videos to shame, control, or threaten someone, often called revenge porn. It's now legally recognized as abuse. The law also covers online sexual harassment and stalking. So if someone keeps messaging, commenting, or following you online in a way that makes you feel unsafe, that behavior can matter legally, even if it's happened through a screen.
And why is this kind of disinformation and also gender disinformation more than just a personal problem?
Well, because it silences voices, it limits participation, and it affects democracy.
So, what can we as young people who are living in this country can do about the system?
Young people can share experiences, join youth initiatives, support media literacy, project participants even in campaigns and advocacy, share life experiences maybe, because voices that are heard change systems.
Okay, then what would you say to someone who wants to post something but is scared?
Your voice matters, even if someone tries to shame it. You don't need permission to exist online. You are not alone, and the problem is not you.
When Nina goes out for coffee, for a walk, even to concerts, people recognize her. They ask for photos, they think at her. At one concert, fans lined up for 3 hours just to meet her. She barely saw the performance, but she didn't mind, because for the first time her presence felt powerful. Behind the scenes, it wasn't just a confidence that carried her through. It was her family, a few close friends. People who reminded her who she was when the internet tried to define her differently. Nina began creating content with intention, positive, honest, and real. She started recording her first commercials. She began earning money for doing something that was made her want to disappear. But more importantly, girls began reaching out, asked for advice, sharing similar stories, saying, "This happened to me too." Nina never set out to be a role model. She didn't refuse to stay silent. Today, her page isn't about perfection, it's about confidence without permission, about recognizing false friends online and offline, about knowing that cruelty disguised as advice is still cruelty. And sometimes she sings again, not to impress, not to prove she belongs, but because her voice, her real voice, was never the problem, and finding it changed everything. Nina is a fictional name, but this story is real.
As you've heard, this is not about being too sensitive. It's about power, silence, and rights. Gender disinformation and online harassment are not just comments. They silence voices, damage confidence, and limit people's right to participate freely online. When we ignore it, we allow harm to become normal. That's why it matters to recognize it, refuse to spread it, and speak up when it happens. Support those who are targeted, report abusive behavior, and help create a safer digital space for everyone. We all have a role to play, because the online world should be a place for expression, not exclusion. To learn more about gender disinformation and how to respond to it, visit the Future Chronicles website and follow us on our social media channels. There you'll find resources, stories, and ways to get involved. Stay informed, stay connected, and be part of building a safer, more equal online space for everyone.
You've been listening to the Future Chronicles podcast, an Erasmus Plus project with Synergy Italy, Resistant Dreams Sweden, Jova Solida Spain, and Europejski Dialog Slovakia. Journalists for Human Rights, North Macedonia and IVC Romania working together for gender justice across Europe. Future Chronicles challenges gender disinformation and supports young people in resisting it through education, storytelling, and civic engagement. Future Chronicles is co-founded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. The views and opinions expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of the European Union or the European Education and Culture Executive Agency. Neither the European Union or EACEA can be held responsible for them. If this episode resonated with you, share it. If you'd like to connect or learn more about the project, please visit future-chronicles.eu or search for us on social media. Thanks for listening.